Mic check. 1, 2. Are we recording? Hi, I'm Michelle Bernstein, an award-winning chef, restaurateur, and mom. I have a lot on my plate, including my psoriatic arthritis symptoms. That's why I was prescribed Cosentyx. It helps me move better.
Cosentyx secukinumab is prescribed for people 2 years of age and older with active psoriatic arthritis. Don't use if you're allergic to Cosentyx. Before starting, get checked for tuberculosis. An increased risk of infections and lowered ability to fight them may occur, like tuberculosis or other serious bacterial, fungal, or viral infections. Some were fatal. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms like fevers, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, had a vaccine or plan to, or if inflammatory bowel disease symptoms develop or worsen. Serious allergic reactions and severe eczema-like skin reactions may occur. Learn more at 1-844-COSENTYX or Cosentyx.com.
Ask your rheumatologist about Cosentyx.
70s?
No, to the hotel to get paper.
We're rolling. The Knack Hardware and Lounge brings you Garage Logic podcast number 1540, May 7th, 2025. 92 degrees, the record high on this day. That was in 1963. And it was 27 degrees on the morning of this day in 1885.
Hail the flashlight king.
And now, from the mayor's office above the boathouse on the east shore of Spoon Lake, it's Garage Logic with Chris Reavers manning Technology Corner, Kenny Olson from the Krabby Coffee Shop, John Heidt in the newsroom, and of course, the rookie. Here is your flashlight king, fireworks commissioner, and the keeper of common sense, your mayor, Joe Soucheray.
The fellow calling himself the Mink has a great point. When did we turn the Papal Conclave into the NBA draft? Every channel I turned to this morning was covering the Cardinals in Rome. There was a line of Cardinals, and the camera was focused on each of them approaching some big ledger where they were signing in.
Okay.
And then apparently they would leave that area and go into some sort of lockdown where we're not. But they were commenting on it like it was the draft.
Okay.
You know, this guy's really good with the rosary. This guy can do a rosary, you know.
This guy's stations at the cross.
What's the thing you swing the incense in? The thurible?
Thurible, right?
Thurible?
Yeah.
Here's Balani Ganawana from Tunisia. He's known for his thurible. He invented the Gowana loop, where he can swing the thurible all the way around him, and the people in the audience think it's going to fall out of the thing. It doesn't. He brings it back. He's asked to do that a lot when he visits rural parishes on horseback. This guy is known for the fastest ever Stations of the Cross.
Well, the next words out of my mouth was, and this guy over here is known for his short homilies.
Yep, and just... since when did we turn this into the draft?
I have a guess. I think it has something to do with the movie.
That's not a bad guess. I think it has something to do. I know this is going to sound, and I'm sure John Heidt might.
Walls.
John Heidt might be alert to stab me in the heart with a pencil here.
Got a pencil right here.
I know you do. Is it a number 2?
It is a number 2.
You only need 1. You don't need 200. I wonder if it has something to do with the left's.
Wait. I was trying to prepare this for the master. You were talking about the breakdown of the draft.
Yeah.
Let's turn to our guy, Frank Caliendo.
All right.
Production, the SEC is an outside linebacker playing through an injury 2 successive years.
That's basically what you're saying.
This is what they're doing, but they're Cardinals.
Can beat you a variety of ways. I think this is a guy to meet Todd. Deserves to be a top 10 pick.
Yeah. This Cardinal, he bought his mom a house the minute he got the red hit cap.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if, because I don't recall this attention for previous papal elections.
Oh, I do, and I'm not even Catholic.
Like this today? Have you seen what they're doing today?
Back to when I was in high school, yeah. It's always been a big deal.
No.
I'm with Joe.
The day of the smoke is a big deal. They're doing pregame here. This is draft pregame.
They got them walking into as if the athletes are arriving at the arena,
is this
coming
Brett?
off the bus.
This is Brett Favre flying into Minnesota?
Yes, this is the
okay.
This is the guys in the tunnel of the stadium.
Yes, Kenny,
with their street clothes on.
I will agree with you, Kenny, that this part has not been. It's always been the end result, but I think now. With them walking up the steps is a different story this year.
Have mercy.
Here I thought Kenny was going to point out when you said, I'm with Joe, we all said, we know.
Yeah, we got you on that.
Cardinal,
I saw the Archbishop today, and he sends his regards.
Cardinal Bongioni, known as a great chef.
Mm-hmm. Where was
then
he
you
flying?
see him sign in. And, well, I guess I don't have a theory. If this has all been done before so frequently, then there's nothing different this time. I sense that there was. I did not realize that this kind of pregame coverage was extended to a papal conclave. And you got to find it kind of odd, don't you, in a secular world that where a great many people frown on religion and
I don't know who the top rabbi is.
I don't either.
I don't know who the
power rankings.
The Pope.
Well, there's power rankings in this thing.
Gotcha.
Like the Orthodox Church, the Greek Orthodox.
No cardinal older than 80 gets to even vote.
That's a bad cutoff.
But they're there. There's a lot of them there.
They got to show their real ID to get the.
This calls for a deeper religious discussion. I mean, isn't the Catholic Church the only religion that does this sort of thing? You were saying the other day something, Joe, about the way Italians feel about the Pope, and they called him. What did you say? My father or
Papa?
Yeah.
Papa.
The other religion. I mean, we have Martin Luther, but we don't look to him like that.
Well, he was a Catholic till he put that stuff on the door. So
there isn't a single top rabbi, as the title of chief rabbi is a specific position held by religious leaders in various countries, not a ranking within Judaism. But in Israel, there are two chief rabbis. The Ashkenazi chief rabbi, currently
Chris
Kalman Bear. You just asked a question.
I know I did, Chris.
As for the top rabbi, you might not see him in person.
They're not burning white smoke.
David Yosef.
Could we have smoke? Could we have smoke as soon as today?
They vote 4 times today, 2 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon.
Well,
gotta have lunch.
So that's the first round of the playoffs.
I bet that's a good lunch though too.
Yeah, I know you'd go there.
Yeah.
The first round of the playoffs is the first vote. Then do you go to the semis?
Yeah, then they have to. You got your conference.
When is the conference final?
Is it a best of 7?
That's a best of how many votes?
I don't know how long they vote, but until they get a guy, until they get a 2/3.
I wonder if Kenny's right. There was a lot of discussion about the conclave in which miraculously a hermaphrodite was named Pope. Leave it to Hollywood to come up with a hermaphrodite to become
like that
Pope.
twist.
That was an odd twist.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Is that what the movie's about?
Well, the movie's about that had to cost $100,000 to make that movie.
Oh,
it's
$1 million.
No, I mean nothing. It was set in one room.
I see.
And there's no sets, there's no action, there's no nothing. It's just these guys in the room. I found it interesting, and I wasn't surprised by anything. Of course, these guys are kibitzing with each other. Hey, do you think John would really pull this off? That kind of deal.
Right, there's lobbying.
There's a lot of lobbying going on, but they ended up with a guy who's got, I think he's got 2 swimsuit areas. I think.
Yeah, it was
one of each.
It was
one of each. Well, that's convenient.
Yeah.
Are you guys talking about the conclave?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. $20 million was its budget.
Boy, somebody made money because it didn't cost $20 million to make that thing.
So.
It's made 120 so far.
Yeah.
Is the negotiation process, do they bring them in and say, if we put you in the chair, what can you do for us? Is it one of those kind of things, or am I off base here?
I don't think you're entirely off base. I think there's a lot of horse trading.
All right.
Yeah. I'll go back to why I think it's getting this kind of pregame coverage. Okay. Do you think it's a Trump influence on the coverage? In other words, do you think they're wondering if this will result in the election of a very conservative pope as opposed to, like Francis, a very progressive pope?
That's a really
I
good
would
question.
return with a question. Haven't they always gone their own way politically, no matter what the mood of the moment is?
Yes, but that wouldn't affect the way the media would look at it.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
The media,
I would say the Deuce is the one that opened it up to more travel, obviously, just because of the time. And I think he
more
has
travel of what are you talking about?
exposure to different lands and going places.
Oh.
I think prior to that, Pope Paul VI, John the 23rd, John Paul I was only there for the first period.
Francis has this reputation as having upended the church. He didn't. Not one thing was changed. He was just more open to be welcoming.
I'll buy that.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
All are welcome here?
Well, speaking of transgenderism,
Oh, it's a big jump.
That's a left turn.
I've come up with a new theory. Heg Seth canned a transgender pilot, Navy pilot. Are you guys aware of this story?
Vaguely, a little bit.
Emily Hawking Schilling. Apparently she's got to go. And that's Executive Order 14183 of the so-called Heg Seth policy banning transgender people from serving in the armed forces. The order was signed by Trump in January and implemented by Heg Seth. It mandates the expulsion of all transgender service members and prohibits future enlistment. So who's going to suffer here? Well, now there's a lawsuit preventing this. And one of the plaintiffs is U.S. Navy Commander Emily Schilling, who has served with distinction for 2 decades. A test pilot and combat aviator, I guess she was a he, has flown more than 60 combat missions in Iraq and Afghanistan and has received multiple accommodations, including the Air Medal. She became the first transgender aviator to be medically cleared for tactical jet operations. Her continued service underlines what advocates say is the irrationality of the ban. Here's my new GL rule on this.
Okay.
If you're transgender and all you're going to do with your life is bitch and moan about how many rights you don't have, imagining how many rights you don't have.
We had a guest that did that.
Yeah. I don't care what you do. That if you get canned from a job or something, I really don't care. I would imagine it would be for cause. But if you've flown 60 combat missions over Iraq and Afghanistan, I'm keeping you.
You've had some accomplishment.
I'm keeping you. I don't can you because you're transgender.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, well, then we have to talk about the rule itself. If you were going to keep this one person, you have to keep all of them.
I'm going to keep everyone I'm going to keep everyone for whom there is no evidence they haven't fulfilled their duties.
I don't think we could pull that off. I think you either have to have the rule that applies to everybody or don't have the rule at all. Who's going to be the grand judge? Who's going to sit there in judgment?
Trump.
No, you're being funny.
Well, Trump has put himself in that position, and the executive order says no transgenders, period. 0. None.
So you either have to go with that or you have to scrap the rule entirely so people like this gal won't get the boot.
Right. Yes, you in the back.
Is this in reaction to the D.C. Horrific incident in D.C.?
No.
Because wasn't that pilot transgender?
I have no idea, but this has nothing to do with that.
It doesn't?
No.
Okay.
Not to my knowledge. It has nothing to do with that. Well, I just hate to see somebody who's given that kind of service get canned for no reason. The reason is transgenderism.
So what are you saying? Are you?
You know what? Sometimes, Kenny, I don't know what I'm saying.
He doesn't even know what he's saying.
Why don't you tell me?
Why don't you tell me what I'm saying?
Why don't you answer the question with a...
I don't even know what the question is.
What's the answer?
I don't know.
I don't know who's Pope.
I do have this in the news you saw, right? The Supreme Court upheld the
it. Yeah.
Trump administration's.
Yeah.
Okay, so...
Well, do you agree with me or disagree? Do you think there should be a selection committee that passes judgment on every trans person in the military? How would that work?
No, unfortunately, I agree with you. It's probably all or nothing.
Unfortunately, I agree with you.
Well, I feel the same way. It's an unfortunate situation because I think you bring up an excellent point.
Well, look at it this way. I'll fly with this person. Let's put it that way. Let me leave it at that.
What about when you get to your destination or your stopover, and you got to go to a hotel, and then what's going to happen then?
What the hell is he talking about?
Going to go out and have drinks, come over
What do you
and
think, Maverick? I don't know.
over to my room and play Scrabble.
When Emily's standing in the cockpit door and we're leaving, I'm going to say, how you doing, pal?
Thank you, Tiger. Way to go, Tiger.
Thanks, Tiger.
If I may leap in here for just
I wish you would.
Chris, I was a little confused by your thing there about the Washington, D.C. thing.
Yeah.
The pilot was not a transgender person, and in fact, the person who was accused by a conservative person on Twitter of calling it transgender and saying who she was sued because that woman who's transgender is still alive. She had 15 years in the National Guard. She was not.
That's what my confusion was. I wasn't sure if that had anything to do with it.
Why did that come out almost instantly? I never understood.
Can I answer that? Please answer that?
Please do.
Because his mind is full of what he learns on Twitter.
No, I don't mean Trump. Joe, I'm not referring to Chris. That was actually a story almost the day after the crash.
It wasn't a story. It was a influencer on
It was speculation. Yeah. It was BS.
And it was, social media is evil.
It is evil.
Because it was Captain, I have her name, Captain Rebecca Lobach.
Is she the trans one?
That was the name of the pilot of the deadly mid-air collision.
And the one the ex-person said was the pilot was Joe Ellis, who was not the pilot, who is transgender and spent 15 years in the National Guard.
Gotcha.
This is like Joe said, you see a headline in a story, and then you got to spend 45 minutes determining whether or not it's true or not. Every little thing.
Let me interject again. That wasn't a news story.
Right. It was
a influencer on social media.
The 72-hour rule would have been in effect for the plane crash in Washington at the end of January. We've developed that. If there's a major problem, you don't even get the facts for the first 48 to 72 hours. For that plane crash, you'd almost have to give it a week beyond 72 hours.
Right. Sorry. I guess the only reason I introduced that was because we did learn that it was what was it, John? Pilot error in the DC crash. That's why I was just wondering if these two had anything to do with one another. So, anywho.
So there.
Have mercy.
Dale wants to know if the state of Minnesota.
That's 3 already, Chris.
Oh.
If the state of Minnesota is going to outlaw car keys, are they going to outlaw metal guitar picks? By Dale's count, there are more deaths related to metal guitar picks than key fobs. Eddie Van Halen. Didn't he get cancer from chewing on metal guitar picks?
Jeez.
Well, he was
I don't know about that. I thought it was just constant smoking.
Yeah.
Well, he had quit smoking years ago. He chewed on guitar picks. They were metal.
Everybody does, but I've never had.
Well, John, you're in trouble.
I've never had a metal guitar pick in my life.
I'm sure the guitar picks you've had, John, are full of lead.
I've never had a metal.
Well, you've chewed
pick.
on them, John. We've seen you at the VFW.
Just admit it, John.
Look, it's plastic. It bends.
Oh, you grabbed a plastic one. We know where you hide.
I know what he's doing.
Who's the famous guitar player that used a quarter, John?
That's Brian May. It wasn't a quarter. It was a 6 pence or something from Great Britain.
Oh, let's get it fact. We're fact based.
No, I asked the fact.
I wanted a British coin.
He used a halfpenny.
Thank you for answering.
I have to laugh. Oh,
it was a British 6 pence coin.
Who are we talking about?
Say, I'm willing to accept these. I'm willing to accept these from GLers. Yesterday we mentioned 2 rides. Kenny had one up Longville Way. I mentioned County Road 7 in Goodhue County between 61 and Highway 19. And now Gary is weighing in with a weavy, winding road in Bluff Country with farms in the valleys and plenty of eagles and turkey buzzards. Highway 76 from Houston to Caledonia in southeastern Minnesota.
I can concur. I've been on that road. It's wonderful. Yep.
And he's looking forward to us developing a GL day trip segment. Oh. Yeah.
Well, as long as we're not out on the road, because our business office would shut that down before we even open the door. Right. You just open the door, and the first thing you hear is, no!
We got to run this upstairs.
Yeah.
We need to start doing the ask for forgiveness plan.
Yeah, GLers, I will hold on to these. They're wonderful, and even
Wait a
if
minute, what are you talking about? We have been begging you to do the Henderson trip for 7 years, and you still haven't done it yet.
May I explain? Well, first of all, that's not much of a ride to Henderson. We're talking two different subjects here.
Yeah,
I'm going to be glad to keep the nifty rides that GLers recommend.
Okay,
Chris. Daytime dum-dum runs. You got to get out of the house.
All right.
See the scenery. Yeah.
Now, the one I mentioned yesterday, Highway 7, that's very doable for metro area residents because you could do it spontaneously. Highway 76 from Houston to Caledonia, that would require a little planning. Kenny's ride up off
here's my scenario.
Yeah, but you'd have to give a day for that.
Here's the scenario. You're stuck at the in-laws' cabin on one of those fantastic lakes around Brainerd.
Yeah.
And you say, you know what, I got to run an errand. And then you're gone all day.
Well,
it's one of those deals.
It's one of those deals. But I'll hang on to these because I'm sure many great roads will show up. And you could really do this in Wisconsin, too. They have a lot of alphabet roads in Wisconsin.
Yes, they do.
Up and down the river, you can take F or G. And they're really cool.
Through unincorporated towns.
Yes.
Whatever the hell that means.
I'm not saying they're highly maintained.
No.
I'm just saying they're charming.
You take F over to U.
You could.
Hey, now.
That's been done. It's been fantastic. See, let me tell you that your garage door guy, of course, is Precision Door MN. The GLers have weighed in, and they've made Precision Garage Door MN the garage door guy of Garage Logic. If you don't yet have their number in your telephone contacts, here it is, 612-263-6985. They serve western Wisconsin, the entire metro. They don't charge more for weekends. They're on top of their game, and they finish your project when they tell you. They inform you that they're on their way, and they usually have everything they need. If you need a new door, Precision Door has models for every budget. The designer comes out. That whole consultation is free. And if you get a new door now from Precision Door, they're throwing in a motor that has a value of more than $760. 612-263-6985 or Precision Door MN, one word, precisiondoormn.com.
Reavers here once again for my guy, Mr. Money Talk, Josh Arnold. Does thinking about retirement make you uncomfortable? Well, sometimes the anxiety from wondering if you've saved enough can be overwhelming. But what if I told you that you could ease those tensions in just 48 minutes? Well, Mr. Money Talk is going to be able to sit down with you and get you on the right track for your financial future. Josh has navigated it all when it comes to uncertain market and economic conditions, and he'll always provide straight talk, never sugar-coated advice on how to reach the finish line with your retirement goals. Don't let your financial worries give you an ulcer or keep you from calling Josh right now. His 48-minute, no-obligation consultation could be just what you need to feel better about your future. Call Josh today at 952-925-5608 and set up your free 48-minute, no-obligation consultation. That's 952-925-5608.
Investment services offered by Josh Arnold Investment Consultant, LLC, a security investment advisor. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. All investments involve risk. All comments and opinions are Josh Arnold's and do not constitute investment advice.
Chris Reavers is a paid endorser.
It's the end of the world as we know it, and he feels fine. Joe Souchere.
We need to talk about your outdoor environment at your place for a second. That sketchy spot, and maybe it's in your yard or next to the driveway, the garage, the one that gets winter kill every year, or maybe a low spot where the water ponds up after a hard rain. ProTurf can fix all of those issues. Take advantage of ProTurf's landscape division right now. Go to professionalturf.com and get yourself a free consultation. Point those areas out to the fella or the gal that comes out, and let's get something going. They're a certified landscape designer by the Minnesota Nursery Landscape Association, and they can work with you to design a project just perfect for your situation. Even better, they're going to show you what it looks like before they even put a shovel in the ground. They use this digital landscape imaging software, and you'll see it in full color before the work begins. And ProTurf simply specializes in everything, anything landscape related. No design is too big, no issue too big to tackle. The work they do is amazing. And not only will it improve your curb appeal and force up your equity, but it'll fix all those rotten issues that you deal with year after year. You can check out all their work and then schedule that free in-person landscape design estimate at professionalturf.com.
A couple of notes from Alpha News, because again, they're covering news that the conventional news gatherers don't cover in the Twin Cities. By the way, Minneapolis made national headlines with Fox News this morning. Minneapolis is called the Mecca of the defund the police movement.
Hey,
you can
Chris.
take that down, Chris.
Please, sir. Thank you.
They're called the Mecca of the and then they noted the rash of murders lately in Minnesota. And they're tying that to attitudes developed during the defund the police movement. I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think these were this is a gang situation when it comes to the Native American incidents. But I thought it was noteworthy that we're called the Mecca of the defund the police movement.
Mecca means like superpower, right?
Kind of the center of it, you know. This is from Alpha News. A Champlain Park high school athlete is at the center of a controversy after quietly competing in girls' sports, and yet we're told this never happens. It's
made up.
It just never happens.
We were told it's made up.
Quietly competing in girls' sports following a decision made by the child's parents to legally change both the name and sex of this child on official records when the child was 9. That's according to a recent report from Redux. I don't know what that is. Could somebody tell me what Redux is? REDUXX, which cites court documents showing Heather Rothenberger petitioned Hennepin County District Court in 2017 to amend her child's birth certificate.
Redux is a website that covers news and opinion on transgender issues, focusing on the impact of transgender ideology on women and children.
Thank you.
Ideology, I guess.
The petition was granted, changing the child's name from Charlie to Marissa and the sex designation to female. Now 17, Rothenberger is a high school junior at Champlain Park High School and a starting pitcher for the girls for the school's varsity fast pitch softball team. And he must be really good. He recently led Champlain Park to a dominant win over the defending state champions, and he's now causing anger among competitors who have only recently learned that he's a male. According to the report, Rothenberger's performance on the field has stood out this season and last. In an early April matchup against Rogers High School, Rothenberger struck out 14, hit a double, and helped secure a shutout victory.
All that with a full beard?
In May of 2024, Rothenberger attributed his pitching success to mixing different speeds and keeping the other team off balance. Phenomenal job, one coach said about Rothenberger's performance in the interview. I can solve this, by the way. Alpha News spoke on the condition of anonymity with the father of a 4A high school softball player who said he had heard rumblings for over a year that Rothenberger was biologically male. This goes on and on and on. His pitches are faster with more movement on them than most girls see. My daughter says it's a noticeable difference, and that's reflected in the stats. I'm not saying he would try to hurt anyone, but when someone throws that hard, the chances of injury go up. It's just a different level of physicality. Okay, then it goes on to say how the girls are a little disappointed. Why don't you just have a boys softball team? What's wrong with that?
Numbers? We don't have enough.
Maybe that's it. But
the way they're treated, you'd think that every other person would be trans.
Is this kid still got the boy parts?
I have no idea. All I know is, if he's this good, wouldn't he have had a shot at baseball? Reeves?
What's that?
Boy.
Yeah, I'm listening.
You working on the show?
Yes, I am, Joe.
This kid struck out 14 in a fast-pitch softball game.
I'll answer for him. That's two very different, distinct pitching styles.
No, I know. One's underhanded.
Yeah, but it's underhand with a full windmill.
I get it. I know how it works. I've seen a softball game.
What's your question?
All right.
Well, I'm saying if he's this good, he's a 17-year-old kid. Wouldn't he had a shot at playing baseball?
Most likely the reason he's playing this sport is because he probably wasn't as good as competing against males. That's typically what happens. I'm not saying that that's in this particular case.
All I know is we're told that this never happens. Don't worry about it. Well, it's happening all the time.
This seems to me like this might be the parents' agenda. I mean, when you tell me the official records were changed when the kid was 9, that kid doesn't know what he or she wants to do when they're 9.
Right.
But the parents definitely do.
Of course, due to data privacy laws, the school district can't provide any comment about this. All right, well, the girls going up against him know they're in for it, huh? Oh, I just became unplugged.
Now he's come undone. He's going to plug it right back in.
Did I tell you not to do that?
That was a real song. He's come undone.
Well, you're right.
Okay.
Also from Alpha News, legislators on the House Fraud Committee said they continue to meet with whistleblowers and have referred serious allegations of fraud to authorities. You ready, boys?
Yep.
A tip line designed to collect allegations of fraud in Minnesota government entities received 530 submissions in its first week. According to Republican lawmakers, on Tuesday...
Is it 530 people calling about one single fraud?
Oh, no, it's just 530 different frauds, I bet. On Tuesday, Republicans serving on the Fraud Prevention and State Government Oversight Committee of the House held a press conference to talk about the committee's work. The Fraud Committee, which was recently established, is chaired by Representative Kristen Robbins, Republican Maple Grove, and maintains a GOP majority. Because the DFLers, I just beg them to be honest, when you're knocking at the door, just say you want to go there to spend money. Mm-hmm. That's all you want to do. And you'll give as much as possible to nonprofits because you know there's no oversight. Among their efforts, the committee established an online portal at the end of March which allows Minnesotans to report allegations of fraud in state government. The portal acts as a centralized place for fraud committee staff to receive reports of alleged fraud, organize them, and forward those reports to the appropriate entities. Do you think they got the 59 Pontiac ambulance hearse and they raced to the
revved up
scene?
and ready to go.
In the first week of the fraud committee, we had 530 submissions. I haven't even had time to go through them, Robbins said. That's one of our biggest projects after the legislative session ends, is to get through all these submissions. Robbins later told Alpha News that the tip line has received 657 total submissions since it was unveiled in March. Holy mackerel. Yesterday, Robbins noted that her committee continues to meet with fraud whistleblowers and has referred serious allegations of fraud to authorities. But here's the problem. Who are you going to refer it to?
That's what it's just...
Right. Who in the hell in this state do you trust? You got Cockwomble in the governor's mansion, Governor Tim Cockwomble, and he doesn't know what the hell he's doing.
Look it up, GLers.
Yeah, it's a legitimate word, GLers.
I'm wondering how many of these, you know, when the government, or I shouldn't say government, law enforcement is looking for information on a felony and they open up a tip line and they get 1,000 calls and about 5 of them turn something up. Could it be something like that?
Of course.
Because if it were me, Joe, I would make 20 calls on the DNR alone.
Yeah.
I hate them so much. Every little thing that bothers me would be a new call to this tip line.
Isn't it amazing, too, that this tip line is actually trying to solve a real legitimate problem here in the state of Minnesota, but King Walls opened up a snitch line where you could tell on your neighbor that he was having people over during COVID.
Well, here's the problem. We should be calling Marion Rarick, maybe. She would know.
Definitely.
Let's say that you get a legitimate tip on Department of Education fraud.
All right.
They're slipping more and more money to XYZ school on Main Street in Anoka. Okay. You're going to call the head of the Department of Education? Right now it was Willie Jett. It was Heather Mueller. What is he going to do? These people have a miraculous way of keeping themselves distant from anything their agencies do. And we know that Keith Ellison does not necessarily act on behalf of the agencies when it comes to purported fraud. So who are you supposed to turn to?
We got nothing.
Who are you going to call?
Who are you going to call?
Yeah.
We might be able to get a hold of them. There's a bunch of committees in session right now. That's from what I'm seeing.
You got Marion's number, don't you?
I just sent her a text.
All right.
Okay,
during the
good.
show.
All right. That's fine.
There's a Ways and Mean committee in session right now. Is she on that?
In Minnesota, state governments primarily issue grants in two ways, through a competitive process or by legislatively directing funds to go to a specific organization. The bipartisan letter signed by the Fraud Committee members said using a competitive process provides better oversight and more effective at accomplishing policy goals. Yes, I would agree. Only give money after a competitive process. Republicans at the press conference also discussed their experience hearing from different state agencies and the bipartisan work to create a statewide Office of the Inspector General. Looking forward, Robbins wants the Fraud Committee to become a normal part of the state legislature's operations in St. Paul, which doesn't say a great deal about the true and ethical nature of the legislature, that you got to make fraud an integral part of it, but in this state, you have to.
Right.
Yeah.
We're getting robbed blind.
Choice.
I haven't heard back from Marion, but I did find the phone number. Should we give it a call on the show?
No. Oh, the fraud phone line?
The fraud phone line.
Well, will we get in FCC trouble if I...
No, you just leave a message.
Recorded.
It's a recorded line, and you just leave a message.
That's it? You leave a message?
Let's call in Dan Barrero. Come on, let's call in Danny.
Yes. For theft. He's been stealing parts of the show for 25 years. It's audio thievery.
I'm going to apologize right now, Dan.
Thank you for calling the MN Department of Human Services
I got
provider
something to tell
and
you.
recipient tip or referral line. Your tips and referrals
I
are
want to talk to
incredibly
Governor
valuable, and we
Cockwomble.
appreciate your efforts to help us stop fraud and abuse.
Hey.
Please provide as much information about your tip
your
or
Governor
referral as
Cockwomble's
possible.
a bad guy.
Include names of organizations and persons involved, dates of any specific instances, and as much information about the incident or activity as possible.
All right.
While you can remain
hang up.
anonymous,
You
we
can
request you provide your name and contact information. If you don't provide your contact information,
Okay, I'll leave an information.
DHS may not be able to investigate your concerns or get all the information needed to complete an investigation.
All right.
Every provider or recipient
Is there ever
report
gonna be
we
a
receive
beep?
is important and will be
Leave
reviewed
Tom's
by the
name.
Office of Inspector
Tell him
General.
you're Tom Bernard.
However,
So we
not
won't
every
get in
submission
trouble.
tip will turn into an investigation.
It's
Due
Tommy
to the
B
volume of
complaining
tips
about
and
Danny.
referrals, it is not possible to contact every
Hell, this
complainant.
message is 3 minutes long.
I
Please
forgot
leave
what
a
I called
message
about.
after the tone.
Yeah, exactly.
This is like John
When you
X
have
News
finished,
Open.
please hang up.
There we go.
The message was so long, I forgot why I called. This is Joe Souchere of Garage Logic Podcast.
Oh, boy.
We are rooting mightily for you in the Fraud Detection Committee, and we're sorry that you have to wait until after the legislative session to even read through them. We hope you succeed. We're rooting for you, and if there's anything we can do, please let us know at garagelogic.com.
Beautiful. Beautiful. You know what we just did?
Not bad, Joe.
We called the fraud department.
We
Let's
did.
get him out of
The
here.
Fraud Department. That's who they are. It's amazing, folks. It's amazing, fellas. Just amazing. And did I tell you about Fred Mertz?
No, not on the show.
Did I tell you that off the air?
Yeah. You said you have an item.
I heard that he was not a pleasant guy to work with on the set of I Love Lucy.
Horrible, from what I
Yeah,
read.
Really?
mean guy.
Really?
Very mean guy.
He looks like a grump.
Yeah, well, he was really mean.
Heavy drinker and very mean when he especially.
Really?
Yeah.
Freddie Mertz, the radio guy, was pretty difficult to work with as well.
Well, the new favorite to become the Chancellor of Germany is Friedrich Merz.
Oh, it never hurts with Mertz.
And
are you a widow?
Fred and Ethel Merz were Lucy Ricardo's neighbors on the Lucy show.
Yep.
Fred and Ethel, and now these boys are bringing me down with the heartbreaking news that Fred Mertz in real life was a bad guy.
Sorry.
Who is this Patrick that calls in twice every morning?
So,
Who is this Patrick?
Friedrich Merz is the favorite to become Germany's new chancellor.
Huh. Well, congratulations. I think it's a different one.
Has he said anything about taking over the world?
Right.
All of Europe?
Deutschland über alles.
Did he mention Germany, or Israel?
He collapsed of a heart attack in 1966 at the age of 79.
79? Mm-hmm. Freddie, what was his real name?
William Frawley.
Sorry,
William Frawley, yeah. Wasn't he in a couple of shows? Wasn't he in, what was the Fred McMurray? My Three Sons.
Yeah.
Wasn't he in that?
That's Fred McMurray.
Yes, he was.
I know, but I think...
Was he Uncle Charlie?
I think
he was a different character, not Uncle Charlie, but played the same basic.
Which was your favorite My Three Son? Rob, Chip, or Ernie?
I wonder how William Frawley continued to get work if he had that kind of reputation, I wonder. I don't know.
No love lost between the Mertzes. I Love Lucy star William Frawley crudely called his on-screen wife Vivian Vance a miserable word you can't say after a fan asked what she was really
Milty.
How about this, John?
He was Milty material.
Yeah. William Frawley, best known for playing Freddie Mertz in I Love Lucy, was so insanely devoted to the New York Yankees, so much so that he had it written into his contract that he did not have to work when the Yankees were in the World Series.
There you go.
Which was frequent during the 1950s.
What a
Boy,
good
I'll
guy.
say. Well, he must have been...
he was a ball guy.
I didn't know those clauses were available when I had a contract.
Look at the extraordinary numbers in Sioux Falls. In addition to having a business-friendly tax environment with no personal or corporate state income taxes, Sioux Falls is growing and has a large, well-educated workforce. By the way, it was snowing in Sioux Falls 60 years ago yesterday when those tornadoes hit the Twin Cities. It was snowing in Sioux Falls, yeah. The cost of living in Sioux Falls is low. It has a central location, a developed industrial parks. Your cost of doing business is low. Contact the Sioux Falls Development Foundation. It's the most affordable city according to Empower, the best job market according to Smart Asset. Number 3 in economic strength, Polycorn. Sioux Falls ranks first in the nation. Are you ready for this? For total bank assets with $3.5 trillion. If you got a new business you're looking to locate, you want to expand your business, you got to take a look at Sioux Falls, South Dakota. South Dakota, one of the most business-friendly states in the country, and Sioux Falls, according to Forbes, is the best small city for business and careers. Find out everything you need to know at SiouxFallsDevelopment.com.
Here's a guy that loves Andy.
Yeah.
Who has tendencies.
No, we got it. We're coming up with it right here.
This guy wears many hats, just not indoors. Joe Souchere.
Another victory for Deep Creep over the weekend at Jackass Ramp. The ranch, I meant to say. The minerals in the well water have rusted the hose connections on my highly dubious garden irrigation system. Rusted them so bad that nothing worked to free them up. I'm telling you, I tried every single curse word in my library. Nothing. So I doused all the connections and that four-way splitter with Deep Creep. They spun off with ease the very next day, proving, once again, Seafoam Deep Creep works on everything and much better than any other product on the market. Awesome for cleaning and protecting metal. Awesome for lubricating and displacing moisture. It resists evaporation. That's how it worked overnight. And extreme heat. And I don't know if you've realized this or if you've driven around at night. It's also Bugs Be Gone season. So when you're in there shopping for the Deep Creep, be sure to get that spray bottle of Bugs Be Gone for your daily driver. All of it, Deep Creep, Bugs Be Gone, the engine treatment, all these are must-haves for GLers and their friends and family. Give them as a gift. I know that sounds ridiculous, but giving the gift of Bugs Be Gone, oh, you'll be loved for the rest of your life. Our own local company with a global reach, it's Seafoam.
Here's John Heidt.
Thank you, Joe. This news brought to you by North American Banking Company. One sports note. Timberwolves, as we mentioned earlier, down 1-0 after a pathetic display at Target Center last night. Warriors beating the Wolves 99-88. Game 2 of the best of 7 is tomorrow night at Target Center. Tip-off is at 7:30.
We shoot anybody last night?
No, I told you yesterday. It was a very peaceful night. A nice crowd turned out for the ball game, about 20,000 people across the street, and then a big crowd for the Timberwolves. It was a beautiful, warm evening with that beautiful, clear sky, and everything was just wonderful.
Nice.
Wow. In news, the man charged with killing 2 people and injuring a dozen others after drunkenly crashing into a crowded patio in St. Louis Park last year entered a plea deal this morning. 56-year-old Stephen Frayne Bailey previously pleaded not guilty to charges of third-degree murder, criminal vehicular homicide, and criminal operation in connection with that September 1st crash into Park Tavern that killed server Christina Folkerts and Methodist Hospital ICE coordinator Gabe Harvey. On Wednesday, he amended his plea to guilty for both third-degree murder counts and 3 counts of criminal vehicular operation resulting in great bodily harm. As part of the plea, he faces a penalty of 25 to 30 years in prison. The criminal complaint alleged Bailey's blood alcohol content was 0.335, more than 4 times the legal limit, when he drove his BMW X5 through a metal fence and plowed through the length of the packed patio, only coming to a stop after hitting rocks and a slope on the opposite end. When officers explained to Bailey at the hospital he was being charged with criminal vehicular homicide, he responded, "My life's pretty much bleeped now, isn't it?" Court records show Bailey had 5 previous DWI convictions, a factor that prompted St. Louis Park lawmakers to sponsor legislation to reform the DWI penalties this session. At Wednesday's plea hearing, Judge Juan Hoyos granted Bailey conditional release pending his sentencing on July 28th.
Guy should have never been allowed in public.
Has anything become of those efforts to reform in this session? Do we know?
I'm unaware of them. It has not been brought up to my knowledge.
I think they've all been introduced, right? But I don't think they've advanced any further, so I'm assuming it's one of those, last 2 weeks of the session deals.
Yeah.
So, Republican Kendall Kass will run for Minnesota governor again in 2026. He told that to our buddy Tom Hauser down in the KSTP newsroom. Kass, an Army veteran and former healthcare executive, is the first Republican to announce a run for governor. Kass has campaigned in the past. He has yet to be elected to a public office. In 2022, he lost the GOP endorsement for governor to Dr. Scott Jensen, and in 2020, he unsuccessfully ran for U.S. Rep. Dean Phillips' seat in the 3rd Congressional District. Incumbent DFL Governor Tim Walz has not said yet whether he plans to run for a 3rd term.
I do not want Kendall Kass booked for this show.
All right.
He must stay away.
What if he wants to come on the show?
He must stay away completely from Garage Logic.
Yeah.
He's too important. We can't risk us with him.
If he wants to talk to us, tell him after he's elected governor. He can come on.
When he's elected governor, I'd have him on all the time.
Yeah.
But I can't take that chance.
Does this really mean it's the end for my Senate campaign, too?
Yes.
Being on the show, I'm not going to win? I threw my hat in the ring for the Senate.
Which Senate seat?
Tina Smith, the one that, was always open.
Yeah.
All right, I'll be done then.
An overnight fire at the building that was the former home of Whiskey Junction caused one firefighter to be taken to an area hospital for what the Minneapolis Fire Department believes was overexertion. That building stands along Cedar Avenue near 9th Street South off Minnehaha. According to Assistant Fire Chief Melanie Rucker, crews were called to the building about 12:30 in the morning. When firefighters got there, they found smoke and fire outside toward the back of the building, as well as the second floor and the roof. Due to how quickly the fire was spreading, a second alarm was called, and it took about an hour for flames to get under control. Besides the firefighter who was treated and then evaluated at an area hospital, no other injuries were reported. No one is believed to have been inside the building at the time of the fire. As of this time, the cause of the fire is still being investigated.
What has been occupying the building?
Ghosts.
Yeah, it closed a while ago.
How long ago? I mean, it's not been the Whiskey Junction for some time?
I'm thinking it was COVID. Don't bet on me, though, but I think it was COVID. Here's the scenario, mid-70s. Kenny and the roommate sitting in the joint about 12:45 p.m. on a Sunday. We've been there since about 11 a.m. We went there for breakfast. And about 12:45, right before it shuts down, hey, let's go next door, get a slice of pizza, because they had a window that was open out on the sidewalk, and then go inside and get 4 more shots before we go home. I had so many good times.
How are you alive?
Between the caboose, the joint, and the whiskey. And
was that a summer day?
And then a lot of people don't realize this, but before that big train station was there across the street.
That's called light rail.
That used to be a big parking lot. And on the corner where Cedar Avenue turns and goes north, there was a set of billboards. The billboards face south and east. All of the employees of the caboose would go over there, park our cars, and sit there and drink till 5 a.m.
John, can you continue, please?
To answer your question, Matthew, I have no idea.
Okay, same.
It's not for lack of trying.
I do have a question. I think that Lot, Kenny, wasn't that a cover of a Lamont Cranston album?
It might have been.
I could be wrong, but
we'd walk around at closing time, and all the employees would go, billboards? Billboards.
Yeah. Okay, Kenny.
Minnesota Department of Education says last year's graduating high school class had the highest percentage of seniors ever recorded in the state. New data from the state shows 84.2% of all high school seniors graduated last June, a total of 59,720 students. That's up nearly 1 whole percentage point from last year's report of 83.3%. According to the state, graduation rates also increased for Native American, Asian, Black, Hispanic, or Latino students, as well as white students, English learners, students from low-income families, especially education students also saw numbers rise. However, the rate slightly decreased from last year's percentage of students who are of mixed race.
Yes, you in the back.
For some reason, the math ain't mathin' here. Why wouldn't it be 100%?
Well, I was just going to say, in other words, almost 20% didn't graduate, right?
Yeah, well, 16. It was 84.
Okay, I said almost 20. 16%.
That's what I'm saying. Wouldn't all of the people graduating be seniors?
But now here's the question. John, did you say this is the all-time high graduation?
That's correct, yes.
So you mean to tell me
we've been down to about the 60s?
Just pick a year, 1959, let's say. Yeah. Wouldn't high school graduation have been 100%?
I think in those days, a lot of kids left early and just went and worked and stuff, didn't they?
Okay, 1969.
Do you want me to look it up?
Yeah. I can't believe that. I mean, you go to high school, you graduate. We got almost 20% who don't, and we're raving about it.
Well, okay. I'm going through my 50th reunion this year.
How many graduated?
Well, we're going through lists, and I keep seeing people that we're talking about that I can't find them because they didn't graduate.
Oh.
Sirens
our first alarm of the year?
Wednesday?
It's our first one of the year.
I don't hear anything.
Don't you?
What?
Oh, quiet.
Shh. Well, now it went away. It'll blow again.
It was 83.3% last year and 83.6% in 2022.
Yeah, it's the last 5 or 6 years have all been in the low 80s. I know that. I saw that.
Oh, great. That's good. Good for the kids.
But I guess the way you phrased it confused me, John. That's what I was wondering about.
There we go.
Oh, I hear the tornado siren.
Okay.
Run for cover. How about Dave Dault? They were so poor they couldn't afford a basement.
Well, that's not
sad.
that uncommon. Not every house has a basement,
Everybody in Texas doesn't have a basement.
You'll be all
Florida.
right. You'll be all right.
He made out well. I'm
That
just.
sounds like a bad song, Chris. Everybody in Texas
Don't have a basement.
John, is there more news?
Yeah, I'll give you one more local
Yeah.
here before we take a break. New Brighton police closed the vehicle entrance to Long Lake Regional Park from 4 o'clock until 9 o'clock last night after getting information that street racers might be headed to the park. Out of caution, the park was closed. A New Brighton police spokesperson said in a statement the organizers of the street racing did not have a permit, adding, these unpermitted gatherings also have resulted in neighborhood complaints, fights, and other violence requiring a large number of officers to facilitate a safe environment. No racers showed up, but law enforcement said they continued to monitor social media to prevent them from moving to another park.
You know why they didn't show up? Because that was never the plan. That was all a trick. So where they did have the races, they weren't bothered.
Good plan. That is a wonderful plan of
That's how it
preparation.
works. I have a streak of evil in me, Matthew.
Yeah.
Why don't we take a quick break?
I like your
here
evil tone.
And hear from Mr. Reaver.
Thank you, John. I want to talk about my friends once again at North American Banking Company, proud supporters of John Height's newscast each and every single day. It's springtime, ladies and gentlemen. So if you've got a big project or expense that's coming up, then why not put your home's equity to work? And that's because a home equity line of credit from North American Banking Company is going to give you flexible access to funds when you need them most. Whether it's a home project or at the cabin, an unexpected expense or something else, their experts make it easy. And they offer all of the same online and mobile banking options as the other big national banks, but the key difference is you're going to get the unparalleled service of a community bank. And it doesn't matter whether you're looking for that project or buying a home or maybe getting that new car that you've been dreaming about, they can help you out. And also, if you're a business owner, check out North American Banking Company for your business needs. And you can find them online at nabankco.com to learn more. 6 Twin Cities locations to serve you, whether it's Roseville, 50th in France, Hastings, Woodbury, Shoreview, or Maple Grove. They are the best. So once again, check them out online. It's nabankco.com to learn more. They've been at it since 1998 when they made a promise to deliver a better banking experience for their customers. nabankco.com. North American Banking Company member FDIC is an equal housing lender. Here's a guy.
Here's a man who spends hours in hardware stores, sifting through the nuts and bolts of life. Joe Souchere.
Great liner because that completely pairs with the Minnesota's Freemasons, the nuts and bolts of life. If you're looking for a ray of hope, look no further than Minnesota's Freemasons. For a couple of years now on GL, I've been sharing with you all the great things Minnesota Freemasons are doing. They do really big things like donating over $6 million annually to support cancer research, aging studies, and children's communication disorders, and awarding scholarships to dozens of high school students every year. The 8,000 plus Freemasons throughout Minnesota working together to make the world a better place by focusing on the core values of friendship, personal development, and helping those in need. Minnesota's Freemasons are also helping mentor the next generation with a really exciting initiative. It's called the Civility Project. Now, the Civility Project is a series of events throughout Minnesota designed to engage the younger generation, teach them the significance of decorum, kindness, and civility in today's society. What we're talking about in GL, the project emphasizes values that are more important now than ever. Putting down the phones, eye contact, learning to walk alongside those who may see the world differently. Just another example of Freemasons at work. The next Civility Project will be May 29th at the Duluth Masonic Temple. There will be events later this year in Farmington and Red Wing. I'll let you know more about it. But if you want to learn more about Freemasonry and the Civility Project, visit mnfreemasons.org.
We're going to interrupt John Height's news for a moment and have Legislative Representative Marion Rarick join us. Hi, Marion.
Hello, how are you?
Good. Are you getting? By the way, are you getting anywhere with calling out all those frauds at the University of Minnesota?
We are about to. So we are about to start the conference committee, and the Senate bill has done a lot of cuts to the University of Minnesota. So we're about to have that conversation.
Good. Marion, we called you. We won't take your time. I know you're busy. We called you because I was reading a piece today. The Republicans who generally have the membership of the House Fraud Committee had a press conference yesterday Kristen Robbins of Maple Grove is the head of the fraud committee. And there was one paragraph that alarmed me. At Tuesday's press conference, Robbins noted that her committee continues to meet with fraud whistleblowers and has referred serious allegations of fraud to authorities. Serious question. Who would the authorities be in this state?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So it kind of depends on who the whistleblowers are, but she's referred some to the U.S. attorney, so he's kind of the interim attorney.
Mm-hmm.
I know that. I've been party to some of the whistleblower conversations, and I believe she's turned some over to county attorneys, but I'm not sure about the second part. I know for sure that she's turned things over to the U.S. attorney.
Okay. Because there's been 670 reports. Now, granted, many of them are going to go nowhere, but that's really a lot on a fraud tip line.
It was a lot, and we had over 500 in the first week that we opened the fraud line.
And you're on that committee, are you not?
I am on that committee. I'm a very vocal member. I feel like I'm kind of like the lie detector on the committee. So that has been my role, particularly when we had Ellison on. He tried to say all kinds of things that were refuted in that 54-minute tape, that we've all probably heard by now.
Yes. I get the feeling Keith is on shaky ground with this.
He is on very shaky ground.
Okay. Marion, you answered our question because I was thinking, well, you wouldn't go to the head of Human Services. You wouldn't go to the head of the Department of Education. You can't really go to Keith because we're discovering more and more that some of these outfits not be trustworthy. But you're saying county attorneys and state attorneys and federal attorneys.
Yeah, so the federal attorney is the best place for us to go. And we found something out really interestingly when we had the fraud unit for Medicaid fraud in the Attorney General's office.
Mm-hmm.
And they instead of using the statutes that are basically written for them, they instead use theft statutes.
Mm-hmm.
But the interesting thing about that is that if you steal more than $35,000, you could steal $30 million or $350 million.
Mm-hmm.
And the penalty is the same. So if you've never been caught before and you have no criminal history, then the sentencing guideline for that is a stayed sentence, so no prison time.
Mm. Will you join us in person one of these days? We need to have another visit.
Joe.
Oh, Kenny. Kenny's got a question. Kenny's got a question for you.
Quickly, have you received any calls or anything like that that are obviously fake, where somebody's just trying to dox somebody?
I have not personally. I have had people, complain about not getting service that they were supposed to have gotten. So it's not fraud. It's just that they didn't get what they thought they deserved. But I have not had that happen yet.
Okay, thank you,
Marion. Thank you. We'll look forward to a visit with you.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for checking in.
Thank you, Marion Rarick, who on the fraud committee. So they're not going to authorities in the state government. They're going to outside attorneys. We'll resume with John Heidt.
Thank you, Joe. National and international stuff. The process to determine the successor to Pope Francis underway today as Catholic Church leaders gather in the Sistine Chapel to begin the secretive and centuries-old tradition known as a conclave.
The first round of the playoffs.
Ballots will be cast by a group of cardinals, the second highest rank in the church hierarchy. There are 252 cardinals, but only those under 80 years old are eligible.
Look
to
up
vote.
The youngest cardinal. Go ahead, John.
With a 2/3 majority
45.
required for a candidate to be selected.
How many votes you need, John?
2/3 of the vote, but we don't know how many are actually under 80. Well, we probably do, but I don't have it myself.
Yeah, it's like the Hall of Fame vote.
Have to be on it.
Yeah.
Observers say the election will be a referendum on whether to continue the reforms set in motion by Pope Francis, regarded as a relatively liberal church leader, or return to more conservative roots. Oh, here's your answer, Joe. 133 voting cardinals are eligible. So you need 2/3 of 133.
Mm-hmm.
The youngest Pope is 44.
No, Matt, Cardinal.
Cardinal, excuse me. Mykola Boychuk. He's a Ukrainian Greek Catholic
That's all I need to know is his age.
I didn't know if you
but you
wanted
know
to
what
know
he's
his background.
noted for is that great Russian dance where you fold your arms and
Yeah,
you
he
kick
can
your
do that.
legs
Yeah, you
out.
jump all the way
This
up.
guy is
That crouching
fantastic.
thing,
The crouching dance, he does it at rural parishes.
Perhaps you can help me with this then, Joe, and I'll go into my draft voice if I could.
Yeah.
Well, there's no clear frontrunners emerging. Some top candidates include Cardinals Pietro Parolin of Italy.
You ever seen him on film? He is really, really active on the altar. Really good. He's got great movement.
Really loves his mom.
Yep. Bought her a house.
Credits his mom for his success.
Another top favorite is Luis Antonio Tagle of the Philippines.
Oh, he is highly noted for his short homilies.
Spent all of his free time in the church. All of his free time.
This cardinal is not from from the Ukrainian Catholics, but he's from Australia.
Who are
New
you
Zealand.
talking about?
That youngest cardinal.
He's on Australia.
Yeah, he's not Ukrainian. He's the.
But that's where he got stationed. That was the team that drafted him. Was Ukraine?
Right.
Then he was traded for a first round.
He was traded from Australia to Ukraine.
He was voted best jokes during a homily.
Is he good?
He's got good ones.
Good.
What's his 40 time?
Well,
he can run the 40. His homily time is usually about 6.5 minutes.
Voting will continue until a successor is chosen, with white smoke from the chapel's chimney indicating a decision has been made.
Maybe today.
Could be.
But you have to get through the first round.
Right.
I suppose they would.
Then
They
there's lunch.
need a day for travel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right.
The situation between India and Pakistan getting kind of ugly.
India and Pakistan might just start hurling nukes at each other.
They both have nukes. Indian forces fired missiles across the border into Pakistan, and the Pakistani-administered territory of Kashmir early this morning, local time, killing at least 8 people. In Pakistan has already vowed to retaliate. The attack marks a rise in tensions between the nuclear-armed neighbors who have a long-standing dispute over the mountainous region of Kashmir. They've fought 3 wars over Kashmir since the two nations were divided from former British India in 1947.
Has anybody ever been there?
I have not.
No.
I hear they got a lot of nice girls over there.
Yeah.
Supreme Court on Tuesday allowed President Donald Trump to implement his ban on transgender people serving in the military. The justice was granted an emergency request from the Trump administration to lift a nationwide injunction blocking the policy while litigation continues. The court's brief order noted the 3 liberal justices dissented. The number of transgender people in the military is small. Of the over 2 million people serving right now, just over 4,000 transgender people serve in the military, according to the Defense Department.
I would have trouble in India and Pakistan with the drinking water. I would be leery.
No cubes, please.
Yeah.
Let's take the show there.
You go ahead, Kenny.
Just let
tell
me
us
know
how
if
you like it.
Just let me know if you want to go.
I don't want to.
That's 5.
That's 5. Yep. Wall Street Journal reporting.
What are we doing? Are we playing Let's Fool Joe again?
No,
we never do that.
Oh.
Not us.
U.S. is stepping up its intelligence gathering efforts regarding Greenland, according to the Wall Street Journal.
Leave these places alone.
Drawing America's spying apparatus into President Trump's campaign to take over the island. Several high-ranking officials under Director of National Intelligence Director Tulsi Gabbard issued a collection emphasis message to intelligence agency heads last week. They were directed to learn more about Greenland's independence movement and attitudes on American resource extraction on the island. The classified message asked agencies whose tools include surveillance satellites, communication intercepts, and spies on the ground to identify people in Greenland and Denmark who support U.S. objectives for the island. The directive, one of the first concrete steps the administration has taken toward fulfilling the president's oft-stated desire to acquire Greenland. Joe, you talked about this yesterday. I can't remember if it was on the show or if we talked about it during a break. A robotic Soviet spacecraft has been adrift in space for 53 years. It's going to come back to Earth later this week. Nobody knows where, when exactly. It's the Cosmos 482, launched in March 1972. If all had gone well, it would have landed on the sweltering surface of Venus and become the 9th of the uncrewed Soviet Venera missions to that planet. Instead,
Just leaving that junk up there, aren't they?
Instead, it had a rocket malfunction, and it was stranded in Earth's orbit. It's been slowly spiraling since the 70s back toward our world. ever since.
How long could it take?
Got to get here soon. Come
50
on.
some years, right? Jonathan McDowell, an astronomer at the Harvard and Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics, says this artifact that was meant to go to Venus, it was lost and forgotten for half a century, and now it's going to be getting its moment in atmospheric entry on the wrong planet. Cloaked in a protective heat shield, the spacecraft weighs about 1,050 pounds. It's supposed to go through the toxic Venusian atmosphere, and that means there's a good chance it will survive at least part of coming through our atmosphere. And you know what that means? It'll land somewhere on Earth. Luckily, I think we talked about this too, since a large portion of the Earth is covered with water, they're hoping it splashes down somewhere in the water. They can't pinpoint exactly where it will be because once it hits our atmosphere, there's no telling how much it'll slow down. Dr. McKnight says a splash would be really good. He said that might be most likely because so much of the Earth is covered in oceans. He said the hope was to avoid a thud or an ouch and instead get a splash.
Wouldn't that be something? You just launch your new sailboat in Fort Lauderdale. You're going to just go out for a little sail, and all of a sudden this thing goes right through the hull. And that'd be a hell of a way to go.
But what is the speech that he gives the
when your ship is coming in?
You think you got the stock market beat?
When the pants are too tight in the seats.
Yeah. Oh, man, I'd hate to be walking down the street and get hit in the head with that thing. Conk right on the melon.
Probably
that wouldn't
probably take care of you right then and there.
It probably won't hit anybody because we have a lot of space.
I've got big red arrows painted on the ground, pointed to my dairy barn. Please.
Land here.
John, thank you.
You know what?
You're welcome.
You know who my leading cardinal is right now? I know nothing about him, but I love his name.
What's his average?
Pierre Battista Pizzaballa.
Pizzaballa. What's he noticed for?
He's a cook. He's a great cook.
Is he?
He can make pizza like you wouldn't. Homemade pizza.
Yeah.
Pizzaballa.
Well, first round of the playoffs are underway. I would expect no smoke today.
I have a do you think, are there betting odds in Vegas?
Oh, God, yes. There's got to be.
Yes. How do we handicap this?
Well, that's it. Who knows who these people are?
Hold on. Let me find
One of the articles I read said that there were numerous betting places.
If you haven't been to a sports book in Vegas and had bets going on 5 different tracks, you haven't lived.
There's no betting at the Vatican, sir.
Right now, your betting odds, the betting favorites, this is according to covers.com, is Pietro Parolin, who's at plus 225.
He is noted for the confessional.
Luis Antonio Tagle.
Yep. He's a former race car driver.
Plus 300.
He's a mudder.
And at plus 600 is Matteo Maria Zupai.
Sheep farmer.
Really?
Matteo. I'm going with Matteo. I love that
He's Italian.
Name. Great name.
Well, that doesn't mean he'll be Pope Matteo.
Nope, he's the winner.
They take names.
Right.
It wouldn't be Pope.
You know what? Pastoral moderate with liberal leanings, he could emerge as a compromise candidate.
Really?
Let's just
Archbishop
face it.
of Bologna.
Oh.
Bologna.
These guys are all just beer drinkers and hellraisers. Give me a break.
No, that might be my guy. It's between Pizzaballa and
Matteo
Zuppi because he's the Archbishop of Bologna.
Are you riding high in life if you're making bets on who the next pope's going to be?
Yes.
Are you at the way?
You have an
Are you at the? Are you at rock bottom?
You're at the end of the spectrum.
I don't know how to answer that.
You might
got a
just have
shitload of money.
I got
nothing.
$10 left.
Right.
And it's borrowed.
Yeah, I borrowed it from Larry.
Why is that funny? It's not. It's pretty close to home, huh?
Yeah, it does.
Yes, sir.
You cannot stop him. He'll just make a move. Joe Souchere.
We are in the lounge right now
With some fried chicken.
with some fried chicken from Cub.
Well, only because they come to us all the way from Mpumalanga Province, South Africa, from the traveling Lymans who are living in Marloth Park.
Yeah.
It's on this day in history, in Minnesota history.
You're talking about May 7th?
Well, that's right. It was on this day in 1800, Eastern Minnesota was organized as part of the Indiana Territory by an act of Congress.
Indiana Territory?
That's right.
We were part of the Louisiana.
We were all over the place.
Indiana. How come we never were our own?
West of the Mississippi, we were, Matthew.
West of the Rockies.
In 1850, on this day,
May 7th,
in 1850, the Anthony Wayne was the first steamboat to reach the Falls of St. Anthony, winning a prize of $200.
The Anthony Wayne?
Wayne.
Oh. Thought that was a weird name for a boat. There she comes again.
Especially in 1850.
Yes.
Wouldn't it be fun to see the river before the Ford Dam? I really love to see that.
Oh, one of my eternal fantasies is to be plucked back down on Earth in about 1880 just to see what stuff looked like.
Oh, yeah.
Heaven's Video Store.
Do you think if you were plucked back down on Earth, 1880s, that in 1800,
yep.
Let's say you were put down what is now the Kellogg Boulevard and St. Peter Street.
Okay, yeah.
Do you think you could find your way to where to stuff?
No, not at all.
Absolutely not.
No. That is one of my motivations for constantly driving across the country, just behind the wheel, imagining what it was like.
It'd be easy. You just pull up your iPhone, you look at Google Maps, you can say, just go this
What
way.
it looked like in 1800. But
I'd like to know what White Bear Lake looked like in 1800.
Well, how much has it changed just in your life?
Not much.
Really?
No.
Oh. With development and everything? Really? It hasn't?
Well, yeah, but the development is not on the water.
I suppose.
You mean the lake itself? I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, I bet it was just, obviously, it was wilderness.
Didn't you say you saw some dinosaurs there as a young man?
I did.
See, that's just...
I'd want to go back in time, but I'd want there to be indoor plumbing.
Okay, Matt. On this day...
1800 is a little too far back.
May 7th.
On this day in 1900, and I just think this is bad reporting, 2 days after arriving in Faribault with his new...
girlfriend.
With his new locomobile. Okay, never mind. I was going to rip this for not mentioning the kind of car, but it was a locomobile, an expensive two-seat roadster. Dr. R.N. Jackson was involved in an accident, breaking his ribs and collarbone.
A high-speed collision at 6 miles an hour.
So he was in town. He was a big shot.
Okay.
And he had a new car, a new locomobile.
I'm looking at a locomobile.
And he cracked her up right there in Faribault.
Broke his ribs.
And his collarbone. No word on what happened to the car.
It looks very rickety. It looks like it has a tiller instead of a steering wheel.
Yeah.
Well, it was 1900, okay?
Well, I'm not ripping it.
It wasn't going to have a removable F1 steering pod.
Probably didn't have Sirius XM either.
No.
Okay, Triumph DRX or whatever the hell.
It's not a DRX.
TCR, CWB.
On this day,
on May 7th,
in Minnesota sports disappointment history, on this day,
May 7th,
in 2015, the Wild lost to the Blackhawks 4-0 in the second round of the playoffs.
They did a lot of that, didn't they?
They just really could lose. That was in 2015, so that was the current group, the Wild, not the North Stars. The Wild.
That was 10 years ago, man. Holy
Isn't that
cow.
something?
That is crazy.
Boy, oh boy. And as we said, the fellas did not play Golden State very well last night.
No.
They got it out of their system. Let's go. He's not going to miss that many. They're not gonna
Golden
miss all those
State
threes.
likes to play a very fast game.
Yeah, like you mean the 40 they missed in the last game against the Lakers?
Yep. It's a numbers game. It's like a sales guy getting a no. He's one step closer to a yes.
Do you know Kerr could have drafted Anthony? And didn't think
No. He said had they had the number one overall pick,
he wouldn't have taken
He
him.
would not have taken Anthony Edwards.
And
based upon his performance last night, he was right.
But was that a reflection on Kerr believing he wasn't a hard enough worker?
Yes.
He sure strikes me as a hard worker.
I think he is, yeah.
Now, didn't Kerr have him on the Olympic team?
He did.
Did he play him?
Not much.
Isn't that something?
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure.
I would have played him.
Do you think if Anthony had a better night last night and the Timberwolves won, he would have had some words for Kerr?
I think he will when all is said and done, but I think he's waiting to see how the series transpires.
Yeah, he better get his act together.
Yes, he does, or the Timberwolves are in a lot of trouble.
Because without him, I would rather not have Steph Curry than not have Anthony Edwards.
I follow that.
Yes, I agree with you.
Because Edwards is the straw that stirs the drink.
He was called out by his coach after the game in the press conference.
Yes, he was. I thought though in a very reasoned way.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, Finchie didn't rip the hell out of him.
No, because he needs him.
Because you got to be delicate with those guys. To be an NBA coach, you have to be a psychologist.
You got to massage the ego.
You can't say anything where they get all upset and pout at the club. And, you got to be careful.
It's got to be a good town has to have good clubs though. Like Jimmy Butler.
He didn't think the clubs were good enough.
Right.
The
exchange.
The way Phil dealt with Dennis Rodman. There's some fun stories there.
He's going to Vegas. He'll be back tomorrow.
That's one of the best stories.
North Dakota guy.
Why did
playoffs.
Rodman survive in the league? Because he was that great of a rebounder?
Yes, he was
he was a hard player.
Yeah.
He was tough.
Played hard.
For sure.
Yep.
But he's a moron.
Well, that doesn't matter.
Have
Look
you
at
met
Matthew.
a professional athlete before?
I have.
There are a lot of them that are.
Well, I know a lot of them, but a
Professional
lot of them aren't.
non-athlete. You worked with a professional non-athlete.
Sorry, Matt, I couldn't resist.
Do you tend to look at NBA players and judge them by tattoos?
No.
Okay. I always find it interesting who doesn't have any ink. Anthony has no ink, at least that we can see.
Joe, it's funny you brought that up. I judge all of society that way these days. I really do. I'm honest with you. It's really gotten out of hand.
Rudy Gobert has no ink.
Not to my knowledge.
Randall has no ink.
I don't. Not
You're
anything
really
visible.
studying the game.
Does Naz have ink?
I believe so.
I can't picture it. Because Naz always wears the white T-shirt under his jersey.
Yeah. I would be too hot.
Okay.
What?
I would get too sweaty. It'd be too warm.
Well, he sweated to the shirt.
You worried about your 3-point accuracy, are you?
Yeah.
That double pumper?
Yep.
Which Cardinal has that going for him, the double pump layup? There's one of the contenders.
He's one of the young ones. I think it's the...
he can't vote then.
No, he can. He's the 53-year-old.
No, you got to be. You got to be. Oh yeah, you got to be under 80 to vote.
Yeah, you got to be under 80, and they need 2/3 of the votes.
Yeah.
None of you clowns can do the Kenny free throw where you bounce it off the ground and up into the basket.
You got to be strong to do that.
That's a specialty of mine.
Like we need to have a little contest
Right after the hockey skate.
You know what? Let's get some cameras. Let's go up to Maplewood, where I bet you that basketball hoop still stands.
Yeah.
And we'll have a little contest.
Where was the hoop in Maplewood? Right by the trash bins?
By the dumpster.
Yeah, on the side.
Yeah.
Is that where you hit the golf balls into the...
We threw books into the swamp.
Oh.
There might be a golf ball or two, though.
A lot of golf balls in there. Maybe a golf ball or two that hit the Porsche dealership.
Why haven't I gone out there to see? Why don't we go out there someday?
Because it's toxic waste.
No. There might be some stuff we left. I bet there's some projects.
Well, I've only been
finish.
asking you for 30 years to go and get all the tapes, and you haven't done a damn thing.
They're gone.
There's some good tapes.
I went up there. They're gone.
Did you really?
Yeah.
See you, GLers.
Thank you,
Does the bathroom still work?
I would guess so.
Naz Reid has tattoos.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Thanks, John. Hey,
look it up.
Do us a favor and hit the subscribe button on the Garage Logic YouTube channel, where you can interact with the show live every single day, starting right around noon, as we do it every day on the Garage Logic YouTube channel. And you can see...
I meant to give a lilac update.
Well, don't touch that radio dial.
I'm gone.
You can also follow us along on all of our social media channels, which includes Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and sign up for the Daily Logician. That email, it comes right to your inbox each and every single day, and it includes the most recent episode of the podcast. Time once again to check in with our guy, Mr. Money Talk. Josh Arnold is with us once again here in Garage Logic, and now is the time for you to do the same. So do not delay. Do exactly what I did and pick up that phone and dial 952-925-5608. That number once again is 952-925-5608. When you call that number, you're going to get Josh, and he is there for you for that free, yes, I use the word free, 48-minute financial consultation with absolutely zero obligation, and he will always give you the straight talk. He will never give you the sugar-coated advice, and he is on the line with us once again right here in Garage Logic. And Josh, a little bit of a different update today from you, because did you just get some breaking news here on television?
They're discussing on my favorite channel, CNBC, some breaking news regarding Google and favorite Apple. But this is something that came out about an hour ago when I noticed that Apple stock dropped about $3.50 a share fairly quickly. And I noticed Google stock dropped about $8 a share fairly quickly. And Google stock has continued to go down on this news. It's currently trading at $150 and change, down almost $13 a share. And that happened very quickly on news that came out during a trial in Washington when Eddie Q of Apple was asked about Google search. There is the DOJ has been pursuing an antitrust case against Google, and the U.S. is urging the courts to break up Google's ad unit. Google's ad unit generates the bulk of Google's profits and would be a breakup of that would be a significant hit, of course, to Google as a whole. Google does own, of course, YouTube, which is right now a major, we'll say, media network. Just an aside, more people get news off of YouTube than they do off traditional media. Very interesting indeed. But the government has been pursuing this antitrust case for many, many years, but definitely starting during the Biden administration, and it has been continued during the Trump administration, much to the chagrin of many investors and many people who were of the belief that the Trump administration would reverse a lot of the antitrust policies, particularly against against leading technology companies. Yes, Google does have a huge lead in search, and the government alleges they got that lead by paying to be the default search engine to companies like Apple or Samsung and other companies. As part of the remedy, the government wants to break Google's ad business apart. Now, during today's session, Eddie Q of Apple said that, I'll say not the first time ever, but in April, searches on Google were down significantly. This is, I think, because of searches moving away from, we'll say directly away from Google, and more to people using artificial intelligence chatbots like ChatGPT, like Anthropic's product, among others. Now, Google does have their Gemini AI product. I think the fear in the marketplace as an initial reaction to this is that Google is going to lose, either through government breakup or otherwise, a lot of this search advertising business, and that's going to go to these AI applications. Now, one of the interesting things of this, while the government is pursuing this antitrust case and wants to break up Google and also is looking to break up other technology firms, or at least pursue significant antitrust or monopoly charges against big tech. The marketplace is, I'll say, way ahead of the government, and it seems that the market, in the case of technology, been ahead of the government for a very long time. And when these cases do get resolved, you kind of wonder, why did the government ever pursue this in the first place? Meantime, we'll say there is some positive news. We'll say on the tariff front, administration representatives are poised to meet with Chinese, or I'll say their Chinese counterparts in Switzerland in the next couple of days, and that could possibly reduce some of the issues that are preventing trade discussions between the U.S. and China. Just something to pay attention to. And lastly, we'll see the impact of the Fed's decision later today, and we'll discuss that tomorrow. I am of the opinion that the Fed is caught between a rock and a hard place right now, with the potential of a slowing economy given the last reading of the gross domestic product number coming in negative, and could be a precursor of an economic slowdown, or if you have 2 straight quarters of negative GDP growth, that constitutes the definition of a recession. And at the same time, tariff situation is causing prices to rise, bringing more inflation. So the Fed may choose to do nothing, but I think if the Fed, while not moving on interest rates, stops their quantitative tightening or even moves to some type of quantitative easing, that might help the market in general, and in particular the bond market.
And that's why we come to you for the straight talk, and we never get the sugar-coated advice, Mr. Money Talk. You heard him, GLers. Now is the time for you to pick up the phone and make the call for that free 48-minute financial consultation with absolutely zero obligation. And you do that just like I did by dialing 952-925-5608. Josh, once again, thank you so much for the time and the chat. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.
Look forward to it.
Investment services offered by Josh Arnold Investment Consultant LLC, a security investment advisor. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. All investments involve risk. All comments and opinions are Josh Arnold's and do not constitute investment advice.
Chris Reavers is a paid endorser.